Hello, and welcome to a new episode of NSPE's Committee Corner. I'm your host, Margaret Edwards, and this week we are joined by NSPE President-Elect Rick Guerra for a conversation on the future of innovation here in the United States. We're going to start, today's session with a brief look at the conversation happening on Capitol Hill through the lens of the House Science, Space, and Technology Committee, and then we'll pivot to talking with Rick and discussing how professional engineers really fit into this conversation around the future of innovation. So the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology. This committee is made up of 40 members of the House of Representatives, 22 Democrats and 18 Republicans, and is led by Chairwoman Representative Eddie Bernice Johnson of Texas and Ranking Member Representative Frank Lucas of Oklahoma. The committee has jurisdiction over much of the non-defense federal R&D portfolio, including the Department of Energy, the EPA, the Department of Transportation, the FAA, NOAA, the National Weather Service, and the Department of Homeland Security. They also have exclusive jurisdiction over NASA, the National Science Foundation, the National Institute for Standards and Technology, or NIST, and the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy. The subcommittees, there's 5 of them. They cover energy, the environment, investigation and oversight, research and technology, and space and aeronautics. So talk about what they're talking about as it relates to innovation. In the past month, they have had 3 separate hearings on the future of innovation. The first hearing happened on April 15th, and it was on reimagining our innovation future. I think Representative Johnson really covers it, the intent of the hearing best in her opening statement, in which she said that she was interested in hearing from the witnesses on how the U.S. can ensure continued leadership in the science and technology, as well as harnessing the research enterprise and all of the nation's talent to develop solutions for some of the most pressing challenges that we're facing. And then the second 2 hearings were on the National Science Foundation and advancing research for the future of innovation. This was a 2-part hearing for the subcommittee on research and technology. So looking at these 3 hearings, there was really a focus on building out the R&D infrastructure here in the United States. I think all really for the goal of being a global leader, for the US to be a global leader in innovation and emerging technologies, and really maintain that leadership on a global scale. And one vein to accomplish this was really through authorizing funds for the National Science Foundation. That was really the focus of the second 2 hearings. Also, discussed there was HR 2225, which was the NSF for the Future Act. And some of the goals just of that piece of legislation is to, of course, fund the National Science Foundation, improving STEM education and research training, increasing research accessibility, accountability, and security, as well as accelerating research to address major societal changes. Within that final goal, there is, established a directorate for science and engineering solutions. So now that we do have kind of an overview and glimpse of the conversation happening up on Capitol Hill, let's now, kind of talk about how professional engineers fit into this conversation. And for that, we're going to bring on our special guest for today, NSPE President-Elect Rick Guerra. So Rick, thank you so much for joining us today and being a part of the conversation.
Margaret, thanks for having me. It's great to be here with you.
You're welcome. So let's just dive right into some of the questions that we have. The first is really, is how can professional engineers really insert themselves into the conversation around the future of innovation?
Well, Margaret, we already have. As you know, NSPE has been engaged in the autonomous vehicle policy discussion since about 2014. Very early on, we were the only engineering society invited by SAE to participate in the policy discussions regarding the rollout of AV technology. Our advocacy led to the development of the NSPE Autonomous Vehicle Public Policy Guide. That effort, in turn, led to the development of our NSPE Policy Guide on Emerging Technologies. We've used these documents to highlight issues and broadly communicate our concerns about emerging technologies. So we've been involved already.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's certainly been great, especially from the GR standpoint to be involved with the advocacy work around emerging technologies. So, the next question we have is, as a professional engineer, what do you find unique about PEs that make, them and you uniquely qualified to be a part of this conversation around the future of innovation?
Margaret, I'm a little biased here, but PEs are some of the most innovative and creative people on earth. However, because of our inherent obligation to protect public health, safety, and welfare, we may not be the quickest to bring a product to market. We don't believe in stifling or obstructing innovation, but we do believe it should be done while keeping the public safety at the forefront.
Yeah, so with that being said, what are some emerging fields, that professional engineers can and should be involved in?
There's a whole lot of them, Margaret. It might be easier and simpler to say that we believe that professional engineers can make a difference in any emerging technology that relies on engineering solutions and has an impact on public health, safety, and welfare.
Yeah. Thanks, Rick, for that answer. So if we, here at NSPE do want, PEs involved in all emerging technologies, where should professional engineers have a say in the process? Are there, particular steps within, innovating, bringing a new emerging technology to market, where professional engineers do need to be involved?
Margaret, we believe that PE should be involved in every step of development. In many cases, emerging technologies are being rushed to market with little, if any, oversight over possible harm from or misuse of the technology. We've seen examples where technology was rolled out, but then had to be pulled back because of unintended consequences. A simple example is laser pointers. Laser pointers are great. They're very convenient for making PowerPoint presentations, but their use to blind airline pilots probably wasn't envisioned. NSPE believes that the public's interests are best served when licensed professional engineers oversee the design, development, and/or deployment of new technologies to help address uncertainties like this.
Yeah, definitely. So taking a step away from how and where a professional engineer should be involved in development of emerging technologies, what is one emerging technology or new innovative thing that you are excited about or really want to see professional engineers play a pivotal role in?
For me, one of the most exciting of emerging technologies has been the advanced automation used with autonomous vehicles. As you know, that industry has had some challenges and some tragic and unavoidable events. Transportation and continued mobility for the consumer is being disrupted in a significant way, perhaps not always in a good way. But AV technology is very visible, and it's exciting to be a part of the discussion to help make this technology a reality, while also working to ensure the safety of the public is preserved.
Yeah, of course, I'm super excited to see how, autonomous vehicles, play out, and especially, when my role here at NSPE, making sure, PEs do have a seat at that table. So, just, kind of looking at, now and how professional engineers, can and should be involved, and, even looking to the future and, at some new emerging technologies, what are some, let's look back, so what are some examples where professional engineers or even engineers in general have, played critical roles in past innovations?
Margaret, it's hard for me to think of any innovation that wasn't led by or significantly influenced by engineers. I'm reminded of an Engineers Week poster that I keep right here in my office that says, without engineers, you wouldn't be able to drive to work, cook that pot roast, shower after jogging, mow the lawn, call your mother, be cool in the summer or warm in the winter, play computer games, fly to Hawaii, flush the toilet, and the list goes on and on and on. Mm-hmm. The truth is, throughout history, engineers have always played a critical role in bringing innovation to the world. It's who we are. It's what we do.
Yeah, I think that's such, an excellent note for us to end this conversation on today. Definitely, we need PEs. We want PEs to be involved, in new emerging technologies and innovation as it's happening. And, NSPE, we will certainly keep pushing for that for for professional engineers to have a seat at the table as these, things are being thought of and created and developed and eventually put to market. So with all of that, Rick, certainly thank you so much for, joining us today. And, thank you all for, again, joining us for this week's episode of NSPE's Committee Corner. Please tune in next time for, a new and exciting, glimpse into what's happening up on Capitol Hill. You can find us on the NSPE Advocacy Center or on the NSPE YouTube page. Thank you all again.